Hello and welcome in for our collective week ahead card pull. I'm coming in here on Sunday afternoon ahead of the holiday week that is about to kick off, ushering in a lot of the festive holiday celebrations such as Christmas and Hanukkah. Of course, we are now in the season of Yule on the other side of solstice. We welcomed in either the longest night for winter solstice in the northern hemisphere or the longest day for summer solstice in the southern hemisphere over this weekend. And we had an unexpected snowfall that was absolutely beautiful here and really illuminated the solstice night sky. And I took some really beautiful pictures quite synchronistically on the 21st of the 12th month at 1:21 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So the numbers aligned, and I was kind of intending to take some cold breaths of the outside winter air before I retired for the evening, and I just saw how beautiful it was. I'm going to share some pictures that I took, which just really felt quite aligned. I have shared before, this Leo, not a fan of the cold. I appreciate a beautiful snowfall from inside by a fire, maybe a little brisk walk out in it for a moment. But other than that, the sun is where it's at for me. So I really have been working to reframe that perspective, to seek out in all seasons and phases and stages that we move through, the beauty, the gifts in all of it. And so winter is where it's at here for me. And in the hustle and bustle, really endeavoring to be present, and take a moment each day to really acknowledge that there's so much that can go on this time of year. And of course, a lot of different feelings that can come up. And so wherever you find yourself along that spectrum this season, just sending out light and joy, gratitude, and thanking you for the gift that you are in our world. I'm going to bring in here a little bit of that hope, positive mindset that I've been infusing into this space throughout the month of December. And then I'd also like to bring in the essence of Christmas energy. Again, no matter what celebrations you partake in throughout this season, there's a lot of energy and intention that is gifted to these seasonal milestones along our calendar year. So much of it, again, is our creation, that we create a calendar that has a final month of a year and a first month of a year and these different celebrations that we have throughout it. And it really does speak to the power of intention and our collective manifesting, the energy that we can bring forward as a collective to create whatever we intend. And so from here, sending out that intention for, and I'm just going to bring these in because you haven't really been able to see them throughout this season because they're just off to the side. But I have here some intentional words that, again, are a big part of, what we do here is really bringing in the intention. And so we have some of these words such as peace, strength, love, faith, and hope that we're going to surround our space today as we tap in for some messages. And I'm going to start with the Yule Oracle, being that we just came through winter solstice, which begins a 12-day, the 12 days of Yule. So in that season now, we're going to first pull our special Oracle message this week for us collectively and see what comes forward. And then, of course, we're going to stick with our decks we've been enjoying this month. We're going to start with a tarot ally for the week from the Christmas tarot, and then from the winter Waite, we will pull our 5 cards for the week ahead. So let's see what's coming forward for us. I've been throwing these cards around all month. It's funny. I've had some pretty uncanny situations where certain cards landed just so, and just the notion that they've been so jumpy. So let's just tune in here for a message this week. Opportunity for us to tune into the season and what it symbolizes. Ooh, Couple of cards peeking out. Falling in love, ceremony, and gratitude. Oh, reindeer medicine. All right, let's see. One card, please. One card. Feels like a reminder to slow down. One thing at a time. Okay. Ooh, telling stories. I have not seen this one. I'm very curious. I'm definitely seeing some generational energies here. It's funny, as I record this, I thought it was a good time to hop on while I certainly could be wrapping down in my she shed. I have an empty house right now. The kids, on their own accord with their two cousins, decided to surprise their grandparents with a photo shoot at the J.C. Penney's in the mall. And what's funny about that, of course, is this is sort of a trendy thing, I guess, that's going around on TikTok, where the youngsters think it's funny to sort of recreate what some of us did back in the day with these sittings that we would do at the portrait studios. And some of those poses are pretty funny. A lot of us have those portraits where, you know, they're sort of interpretive in terms of, like, you know, the facial expressions and the poses that we did, you know, awkwardly with siblings or family photos, those types of things. And so it's a thing where the kids go, and now these portrait studios, which many of which have closed now, are actually opening up to have these little digital sittings where you just leave with your, you know, a digital file of your photos, and then you can go have them printed. So the kids are not here because they are together coordinating this very thoughtful gift. And I just got a big, you know, wink there, looking at what appears to be a grandmother and grandchildren having story time. And again, it just reminds me, you know, in and around solstice as well, another opportunity with the thinning of the veil, very accessible to our ancestors and spirit, and also our higher selves. So I'm just feeling a little nod here that, you know, knowing that this time of year can tend to bring up a lot of nostalgia and memories of holiday seasons past, celebrations past, you know, maybe being very aware of those loved ones who are here in spirit that are no longer on this earthly plane, that, you know, brings up a lot of those feels and thoughts and memories, which can, you know, evoke all types of emotions in us. And so just kind of being aware of that as that card comes forward to kind of set the tone for us this week. Feeling compelled to share that. So hopefully that's resonates somewhere. Like I said, I'm very curious to see what these pictures look like, but I think it's pretty cool that they came up with it on their own. Okay, let's tune in for our tarot ally for the week. And of course, the Christmas tarot is just the major arcana. Card 0 through 21 of the major arcana, and told through the lens of, like Charles Dickens, Christmas of past, present, and future. So we're going to tap into this archetype as an ally for us this week as we come ever closer to closing out 2024 and welcoming in 2025. What's coming forward for us in this penultimate week of the year? See, one card, please. Ooh, judgment. Outcomes is the key word on this card. So we will take a look at that when we get into the messages. Such hauntingly beautiful cards in this deck. Okay, so here we have our winter Waite. I won't be doing card pulls this week with the holidays and everything going on for all of us. But if, you know, anything comes forward here in the messages today, I always love to hear from you how it may be resonating, what's coming up for you. So do feel free to quick reply if you're on Marco Polo, or send me a message. And of course, you know, always happy to connect with you. I'm just going to hold off on the card pulls as this week is definitely very full for many of us, I'm sure. So let's see what's coming forward here for us for the week ahead. We're going to pull our Monday through Friday cards, with the first card setting the tone for this holiday week. What card will come forward for us for Monday? Oh, you can't make it up. So we got another major arcana card to go with Judgment, Justice. And this one, I love the way that it is interpreted here with the St. Nicholas and the nice list and the naughty list, and either side of those scales of justice and all that may evoke for us. So we shall see what comes in for us to set the tone with justice this week. Tuesday is our potential block or challenge. It is Christmas Eve. So we'll see what's coming forward there for Tuesday's energy. Ooh, we can't have all three of those. Let's go around one more time and see one card for a potential block or challenge. No, we don't want three of those. Just one, please. One block or challenge at a time. Preferably. Whoa, major. Death, transformation, change, metamorphosis. Wow, that's really beautiful. Very true to the traditional, but just something with the snow and just that background is really, really popping on this time of transformation that we are moving into and through. Judgment, justice, and death coming in to start us off. So we do have, I don't have much to share with the astrological weather this week, but there is one transit to speak of later in the week that brings forward some energies to be aware of. So let's see what our midweek blessing, Christmas Day and the first night of Hanukkah, has to bring forward for us. Ooh, Cooper is notifying us of, there's some kids with sleds outside getting the last bits of the crusted snow that's out there. It wasn't a big snowfall, but it looks like they're going to try their chances with some snowboards out there. It's nice that all the kids are home and, in the neighborhood and such, and just, seeing everybody enjoying this time to take a break, to pause. And also, like I say, to enjoy, while just, cold is not, always so pleasant, but kids, they have a way of, staying warm. Oh, look, there's the Hermit as I shuffle the Hermit. So a lot of major cards winking at us. And of course, we're going to talk a lot about the Hermit in the coming weeks, as it is the overarching energy of 2025, card 9, the Hermit. We're shuffling up here for our midweek blessing. Yeah, my littlest one was so excited about the snowfall on solstice night that she woke up early the next morning, had her breakfast, and she got her snow pants out herself and everything. And she was out there making snow angels. And I was just taking a moment to look at her from the warmth inside and just, having gratitude that she loves and enjoys the snow and the cold so much. Okay, Wednesday's midweek blessing. Look at those traveling minstrels. We have the beautiful 10 of Cups with these carolers. So that's a lovely energy as a blessing here, which really shows this, Christmas Day, first night of Hanukkah, beautiful time for family and gathering and coming together and all the things that the 10 of Cups encompass in the wholeness and completion and the cups being filled and hearts being filled. So that's a really beautiful energy. Thursday is how we are growing this week, this year, as we have moved through. What do we need to know around how we are growing? Oh, I see that one. 4 of Cups. Okay, so another card that has us taking a look at things from those different angles, those different perspectives to say, this is what I was feeling like. Yeah, no, I don't like the snow. I don't like winter. Bah humbug. But at the same time, there's a lot of beauty to behold. And there's a lot of blessings there. And there could be things right in front of us that, we can sometimes miss those hidden gifts and blessings that come in this season and throughout this year. All of the different ways in which we are surrounded by blessings at all times that, we can take a moment perhaps to ponder. Is what I'm feeling there, but we're gonna see what comes forward for us in all of our cards. Let's squeeze one more in with Friday's energy to wrap up the week. And that is also going to be the day of the one transit that I'll be highlighting for this week as well, the 27th. So let's take a look at what's coming forward from the tarot. One card here for Friday. Ooh, we've got the 9 of Pentacles. Beautiful. So again, this is really about all of this abundance being surrounded by in our homes, in our spaces, you know, bringing in all of these rich resources that we have. And Pentacles are going to represent, you know, the physical, tangible, money, safety, security, you know, our possessions and things, but, you know, also just this nature of being having an abundance and sharing it generously. So we'll talk about that to wrap up the week. So let's go ahead and take a look at our energetic weather this week, and then we'll jump into these card messages, starting with our Yule message of telling stories. Let's check it out. All right, let's kick off our holiday week with some energetic weather, reflecting first on this weekend's solstice energies. December 21st, we had solstice, and depending on where you are in the world, you are ushering in winter or summer. So, of course, with solstice is about the celebration of either the longest or shortest day of the year. But no matter where we are on our great cosmic cycle, we won't stay here for long, right? Things are always moving and shifting. It's hard to believe how we even got here at the end of 2024, that Christmas is here, Hanukkah is here. So many of the seasonal celebrations that culminate our calendar year are here already, right? So we kind of have this sense of the fleeting nature of time. And of course, nature itself is a great reminder of that in its cycles. Also aligning with solstice was the Capricorn season arrival. Sun now in Capricorn. Happy birthday to all you Capricornians. This is bringing in a time to really honor our innate gifts and celebrate ourselves for all that we are. So it really brings forward an ambitious sign that can really help to give us the stamina to make it through the holidays and into another year. So then the one transit to mention that is coming up this week on December 27th is Venus square Uranus. And, Venus square Uranus can be a potentially volatile combination. So, this being post a lot of the core holiday hustle bustle could perhaps be a good excuse for you to maybe have a low-key day where you're able to focus on the things that you really wish to do. Instead of saying yes or trying to please others, please yourself. So that's interesting with the cards that we have coming forward this week, specifically that 4 of Cups and the 9 of Pentacles. So we'll talk about that happening right there in that part of the week, Thursday, Friday energy that came forward, to see some of the ways we can best be in flow with those energies. We'll highlight the things happening on the other end of the week in our card pulls next weekend. We have Chiron stationing direct to give you a little preview, so we'll definitely chat about that more at the other end of the week. But let's take a look now at our Seasons of the Witch Yule message for this week. So our Yule message that we brought forward here is telling stories, bringing in the number 38, carrying the frequency of a very powerful angel number 11, and has these words on the card. What words so tender can be spoken so bravely unless they are true from the truest of words? And the key words associated with this card are truth and speaking up for yourself. Here is the message. Stories have been passed down through generations for millennia. Stories keep traditions alive, giving voice to loved ones past and teaching us valuable lessons to carry into adulthood. One of these lessons is the power of speaking your truth and knowing where you come from. There is power in what you say, and when you have pulled telling stories, you are being guided to be mindful of the words you send out into the world. Are you speaking words to encourage or to hurt? Do you speak of yourself and others with kindness and compassion, or are the stories you tell full of low vibrational emotions like anger, jealousy, and sadness? Your words control more than you think. A compliment can change someone's day. An affirmation can remind you of a commitment you've made to yourself to change an outdated belief. And of course, there are the stories that you tell about yourself. The words you say internally are even more important than the words you say out loud. This card guides you to speak to yourself with only self-love and self-worth. So a lot of important reminders there. Definitely feeling it tapping into, again, the ancestral energies in the card pull. I was saying how, this time of year, under solstice and throughout these seasonal celebrations and holiday energies that we have assigned over time through tradition, and brought forward a lot of meaning, a lot of energy that is ascribed to this time of year, that we all sense one way or another, regardless of whether we celebrate, partake, or where we are in the spectrum of all of the feels this time of year. It does tend to bring up the reminder of stories and legends and things, and as far as all that is attached to holidays and beliefs and all those things. And again, ancestors and traditional in the foods that we eat, the music we listen to, the way we may decorate our home or give gifts, or just traditions and celebrations that we have. I was sharing at the beginning of this month about one of the traditions in my family, the wrapping paper picture, that we would take all the women of the family, and now we've expanded that to my son as well. So women and children, all in the photo. But, again, it's something that has been assigned meaning through intention. So that's a big piece of what's coming forward here that may resonate with many, in terms of what might be coming up for you, in especially recollection with grandparents and elders and memories that come forward, as well as the other part of this, which was really speaking to being very conscientious about the words that we use, the stories we tell, and the words that we use to tell them. And so whether they're being said aloud, or more importantly, what was highlighted there was what we think of ourselves. And I think this is going to be perfect to segue into our tarot ally this week, Judgment, because it really does ask us to look at the ways in which we have judged ourselves and others, and how others may have judged us, and all of those aspects that come forward through the energy of that card of the major arcana. So, bringing in the stories and being conscious about the words that we use, and especially for ourselves, and bringing in that component of self-love. We will transition now to take a look at the tarot ally with the Christmas tarot, which is going to give us a past, present, and future reflection. See what may speak to you most. Let's take a look. So now we take a look at the tarot ally that came forward for this week from the Christmas tarot, bringing the card 20 of the major arcana, Judgment. And interestingly, I said during the card pull that this was the penultimate week of December and the penultimate week of the year. And incidentally, Judgment is the penultimate card of the major arcana in the tarot, because of course the Fool's Journey goes from 1 to 21, and this is card 20. So it is that card that comes just before completion, just before we have finished a cycle and come full circle. So let's feel into here a Christmas tarot with the ghosts of past, present, and future speaking to us this week. So the key word on this card is outcomes. The Judgment card gives an uncomfortable message. It indicates that difficult outcomes are at hand about something important in your life. Waiting for those results to come down is the challenging part. Prayers go up, cases are presented, and other forms of worry abound. Remember, though, that it's always how you react to a decision that counts. Communications in the right manner can help, but know that your destiny is at stake here. There could be a surprise. Think before you speak. Well, isn't that interesting? When telling stories, wanted us to really be conscious of the stories we tell, the words that we use, etc. So it's speaking here to this card with the holly that is depicted, saying it was believed by the Druids that holly was a part of the earth that was meant to keep it beautiful when foliage lost leaves during the winter months. But oddly, it has also come to represent peace, and there were those in the past who settled disputes beneath a holly tree. Another component in a story talks of the holly giving heed to who in the house, he or she, would rule the home the following year. Interesting. So again, this is so cool because these are completely different decks, totally different creators and origins, and yet look at the synchronicity we already have about telling stories, the meaning that we assign to things, the intention that we put into things, and then these traditions and ways in which we can look at, how we can connect in with not only nature, with celebration, with, all of these traditions and things that are coming forward. So now here in the past, present, future context of judgment, past says, why is it that you are always the one forced to make the hard decisions? It doesn't seem fair, but judgment of you has always been in the center. You've gotten through most of it. Just having a good attitude has helped you immeasurably. One foot in front of the other was all you could accomplish. Now in the present, it says, remember, you can make great outcomes as well as the others who seem to be judging you. Think of the self now. Carefully put your case together. We can't stop with the connections because next we go to the justice card. Put that case together, right? And then make the best of what the circumstances have supplied you. Ultimately, the only person responsible for the outcome of a situation you are in, or you directly or indirectly, is you, right? So then in the future, it says, you come through the situation knowing that whatever decisions or judgments you've made, they were the best that could have been achieved. Could the outcome have been more positive? Yes, but that's the case with most decision making. You did well. Don't overthink it. And the Christmas angel message says, stand firm. You know what's right. Discard the rest. So yeah, there's a number of different ways to interpret the judgment card. And on one hand, again, as I say, looking at those ways in which judgment has been assigned, whether it's coming from within, from without, if it's reflecting back internally, or we're putting it outside of us, there's this sense of the judgment and criticism and the rulings and all of those things. And then also judgment has an awakening component to it, where there's sort of like a wake-up call and a stepping into our most authentic selves, and from perhaps a vulnerable or just budding type of a place, and yet it's really exciting because there's an opportunity for us to really embrace our most authentic selves and shine that externally, unapologetically so. And I think that, what's jumping out for me from that aspect of judgment right now is your opportunity in your life to be a way shower, a trailblazer when it comes to, yep, that's right. It's me. This is what I believe. This is what resonates, what doesn't resonate. And if there is an old story, if there are old experiences that have been shrouded in judgment, in criticism, bringing in the energies of judgment and justice, as we're about to speak on, that we have an opportunity to create a new story, and really step forward as that trailblazer, as that way shower of another way to do it, a new way to do it that is really a light. And it feels really hopeful. So, I think we'll get into that further when we look at the Justice card kicking off our 5-day spread. But I think this gives us a lot to really reflect on. And I like how we sort of see this chamber of windows with the holly hanging in it, and then bringing into what the story was telling us about the previous traditional associations with holly, in saying that it represented peace, but also, meant to allow people to settle disputes, and as well as it bringing light in the winter months because of the green and the red and the brightness that it brings when everything else is bare. So I think it's really about these new vantage points when we think about the windows and all of the different perspectives that we can hold, and really being discerning about which ones we're going to really put our energy into and which ones we're ready to leave behind, as our midweek blessing will also highlight for us when we get into the cards coming forward this week. All right, let's kick off our 5-day spread with that Justice card featuring the naughty and nice list. All right, I am back. Sorry for the intermission. The kids came home from their photo shoot and the album arrived digitally, and it's amazing. I have to show you guys. I'm going to show you pictures of the snow on solstice and a couple of the pictures from the kids' photo shoot. It's just hilarious, and most of us can appreciate 80s and 90s awkward poses. So it's entertaining, but let's get into our messages for the week, and we'll see how tarot always imitates life in the messaging that comes forward. So we're going to start with Monday with this Justice card, and I love the take on the naughty and the nice list with St. Nicholas. So first, we'll take a look at the short guidance here from the Winter Waite for this card, and then feel into the intuitive messages for us this week. So the Justice card coming in with St. Nicholas, stepping out of the Hierophant position, which is card 5 of the Major Arcana, which does represent traditional systems of religion, government, institutions, belief systems, etc., and sits now here from the Hierophant into the role of a judge. And it says his task is to decide which child has been naughty or nice. In one hand, he holds a swirl lollipop, and in the other, a few lumps of coal. So this is great because, yes, of course, tarot imitates life. It ties in because, just looking at the faces of these 6 children, my 4 and my niece and my nephew, and as I'm speaking, my sister-in-law and I are digging up old pictures of them, sending them back and forth. Like, we just can't believe how grown up they are. But especially my littlest one, who's the fiery redhead you'll see in the photo I'll share here. Last year, she gave a little, she's good for a lot of little tidbits, of course, as all of the children are, out of the mouths of babes. In some family member or someone teasing about getting coal, and she says, so that's good. Coal's useful, like she just quipped right back saying like, yeah, well, coal's useful. And in fact, we've talked about that this year, that, when compressed, that coal turns into a diamond, right? So there's this sense of, getting clarity around, what's really the nice gifts and what's the naughty coal, and this sense of balancing the scales that is coming in here, where we I think what I'm feeling here, bringing it into this week and collectively what could be coming up, is greater clarity, sense about what is truly important, what we value, looking at those scales and where they're imbalanced in terms of the ways that we may assign blame or roles of good, bad, right, wrong, nice, naughty, innocent, guilty, and having an ever unfolding opportunity to really assess as a collective, as a humanity, justice and what that means, and how we have experienced it to this point, and how moving forward, what that looks like. And I think it's really interesting that, and I'll just see if I can find that Hierophant real quick just to show us for that comparison, that, yep, right here, of course, that's how it usually works when it's meant to be seen. As the Winter Waite says, this is both St. Nicholas. And like I said, this is a card that captures the traditional. This captures, the last 2,000 years, the Piscean age, the structure, the systems, this rigidity that has served its time. But now as we step ever more into the age of Aquarius, there is a shifting in terms of those old systems and institutions and foundations and how they may or may not be supporting any longer, and that we may be getting a different sense about what truly is naughty or nice, right? To bring it into the playful perspective of this fun seasonal deck that really brings then into the tarot and the rich symbolism of, and I'm really, getting into it deep because it is significant when we start out with 3 major arcana cards. This is the month that showed us an entire week of major arcana in previous weeks, which had never happened before in the history of the Empowerment Sharecast and our collective card pulls. That is to say, major arcana, the big secrets, significant energy, archetypes, pay attention, right? These are significant stops along the Fool's journey. So as we finish out this year, we're talking about some significant energies coming in to be assessed, to be reviewed, and it's interesting, like I said, that the Judgment card also spoke to, assigning a ruling, which is what this card then would speak to with St. Nicholas as the judge. So anyway, we'll see where that unfolds, but I think I've teased this picture. I'm going to show you guys. I just made a quick collage of just a couple of the poses. My goodness, it is so hard to choose, but I'm going to share that with you all here now. So here is a photo of the kids, my 4, as well as my niece and nephew. So we're talking, going down in order. And they're not necessarily standing. My 2 girls are taller than my niece. So they're my second child and my niece are in reverse order because my niece is older. But it's 19, 17, 16, 13, 14. I think my nephew's 14, my son is 12, and my little one is 8. That's Elena Joy, our fiery redhead, who says, meh, coal's not so bad, it's useful. So these are just a couple of the intentionally, quote unquote, awkward poses they did, but they also did some really adorable. They're all adorable. But anyway, I just had to share that we were getting a good chuckle out of in the break here before I came back to record, enjoying looking at all of these photographs. And here are my 4. So these are my 4 that I'm referring to when I talk about each of these amazing kiddos and how much they teach me all the time, but just so cool to really have this this perspective of just looking over just how grown they are. And just really bringing that into, the reflective, contemplative season that we are in kind of looking at the culmination of it all. So happy holidays. This is what I'm going to use for my digital Christmas cards. No cards being mailed out this year, but I'm going to do a little digital post, and perfect. This worked in divine timing. So now our Tuesday energy coming in with another major arcana, we have the Death card. So this is the death rebirth energy. This is card 13 of the major arcana, symbolizing metamorphosis and change, transformation. This is the white rose symbolizing rebirth. And we have that symbolism of the skeleton picked clean to the bone, the layers, shedding the skins of the soul, and coming in here to see that. And this is really interesting because there is a traditional story around what's happening here with this fallen king and the crown that we see lying on the ground. But again, a la, Hierophant energy, when we talk about extreme zoom, when we talk about the energy of old systems, old ways of being, old beliefs that are falling, right? Because they're in a state of change and transformation. And so that is really what this death energy brings forward for us. And it's anything but easy, right? It is a challenge. And so bring it into this week. And again, here we are in this, next to last week of the, as we're winding down these last final weeks of this year and preparing to close out one calendar year and enter into a new one. And there's so many endings and new beginnings as a part of that, This death card says in the Winter Waite, an ending of things. Typically, this is not in reference to literal death, but rather it's generally an end to something. And in this case, it could indicate the end of a year. Yes, where we find ourselves now. And, we're going to have many new years, many rebirths as we go through the coming months, because, this is the first of the wave of the end of a calendar year. We will have the lunar new year, the Chinese new year. We'll have the astrological new year. So we go through these waves, this first quarter of 2025 that mark endings and new beginnings. The wheel turns and these cycles. And then, of course, on the other side of that, before we know it, it's time for equinox and yet another change of season. So, again, as that unfolds, wherein could be the blocks and the challenges this week, again, moving through change. And, some of the things I think is the bittersweetness of endings and things that can transition before we realize. I want to say before we're ready, but oftentimes we might say we're never ready, or, when is it enough to say, oh, certain, relationships and routines and ways of being in our life, when are we ready for them to end? And like I say, as I'm sitting here sentimentally going back over baby pictures of these big kids and thinking about, blink and we're back. And we're here in a place where they're grown and able to make their own appointment to get photographs and coordinate their outfits and drive there and pay and, and handle all of these things. And it's like, when did this happen? And where was I? And I didn't even get to say goodbye. There's that bittersweetness to endings of all kinds. That's just how it's coming to mind for me. But thinking about for yourself how it can show up. And even the new beginnings that can be tough, because we're, the challenge of something new, the challenge of, even if it's like a new exciting thing, maybe you're putting down some new boundaries in your life, asserting some changes by you, for you. And oftentimes when we do that, the other players in the story are like, what's going on? Like, what's gotten into you? Or, they may or may not get it. And so that can bring its own difficulties. So, there's so many different ways that the challenges of the death rebirth energy can play up. But like I said, in many ways, it just resembles for us, many of us, endings and new beginnings, and that bumpiness in that process that it can be in the in-between. When we're no longer where we once were, and perhaps not yet where we wish to be, we're in transition. You can see that horse is in mid-step. It's still moving through, and there's still some old ways, the symbolism of something old, traditional perhaps, or fixed. The Hierophant is Taurus energy, which is a fixed sign. And so, yes, there is a lot of potential stubbornness and rigidity and, really staunchly standing there in that red robe, not looking to move, not looking to relinquish a perception of power or a perception of authority. So again, how does that show up on the big stage? How do we potentially experience that in our little lives and everything in between? So feeling that energy here, we have a beautiful midweek blessing coming in. So let's take a look at that now, and we'll proceed into Wednesday. All right, Wednesday is our midweek blessing, and this is truly a beautiful energy to come in for Christmas Day and the first night of Hanukkah as two of the seasonal festivities that are unfolding this week. And so what we have here are these carolers or minstrels that are depicted on the 10 of Cups. And the 10 of Cups is the happy family card. And it really is, again, with a 10, we're talking about wholeness, completion, full circle, really feeling this sense of being satiated. Those cups are all filled to the brim and snow-capped. So there's a beautiful harmony and rhythm that's happening here. The message with the Winter Waite says, a feeling of shared joy with family and friends. in this card, Christmas carolers sing happily and represents blessings and good times. And so on one hand, yes, a card of good tidings and cheer and the essence of the season. Again, we had brought in the essence of Christmas at the beginning of our card pull. But I do want to be mindful of, everyone is in a different place in terms of their observation of any, holiday celebrations and gatherings and a sense of where their spirits may be at this time of year. So I really want to hold space wherever you are to meet you there, to feel into the opportunity for us to see from a higher perspective than our typical, day in, day out experience, year in, year out, when we reflect over, this time of year and what that, brings up for everyone differently. And then also the nostalgia and the aspects of looking back on Christmas past or, present, future, holidays, the expectation and so many things that are very loaded, right, in what they come with. But what I'm really zooming in on here is the carolers, because there is this sense of harmony coming in, an opportunity to harmonize so from the bigger perspective, from the biggest, widest lens that we see, that there is perfection in the unfolding of the roles that each caroler plays in other words, when we're talking about challenging family dynamics and peopling and all the things that can be very complex and complicated and, difficult, dense as we navigate. So whether we're feeling festive and celebratory, whether we're surrounded by, many people and gifts and tidings and all of those things or not, wherein are we able to see the different notes and the way that, there is this fine tuning in this dance, in this, the performance of this song of our lives and the way in which each participant plays a role. And yes, there are sour notes, right? There are times where it is off key. And, in the ways in which, here's where the blessing lies. Sometimes when we think back over some of the most difficult and trying times, can we see how those situations played out? And I'm using that word perfectly because I know that the way that it feels and the way we experience it and perceive it can be very different. It actually served up for us exactly what was needed to move us. My friends and I were talking about this, just kind of reflecting back over some of the more challenging things that, that we've, one person could be recounting something that they're moving through. And then another person can say, yeah, that's how it was for me when I stayed at a job a little too long and I felt really, taken advantage of, and it was really stressful. It basically pushed me to, I'm speaking, generally not me, but I'm saying a person feeling like it pushed to the point of mental breakdown, of, receiving, being treated poorly in the workplace, really like abuse, But what happened was that it moved them to break out, to really own their worth, to know that they deserved better, to seek for more. So while the experience they had in the moment was awful, and when they look back on it, it's not something that they would necessarily ever wish to experience again. When they look at the sum total of the experience, they understand that aspects of them that they have now, healed or expanded upon, evolved beyond, that was not owning their worth, that was playing small, that was placating to people pleasing, overachieving, other things that were aspects within themselves that needed to shift, that were no longer sustainable. Okay. You see how you can bring this story into anything. We're not just talking about the humanity and the collective and government and religion and institutions. We're talking about, if I believe that in order to get on the nice list, I have to overachieve at work. This is the example that I'm just rolling with, but apply it wherever it fits for you in your life, that I'm, going out of my way, bending over backwards to my own deficit, my mental health, my, well-being, to help this workplace that if they were to, make changes tomorrow, I could be cut like nobody's business. I'd be shown the door, even though I've poured so much of my heart and soul into this job, all the things. And then suddenly realize when I hit this point, stick a fork in me, I'm done, picked clean to the bone. This isn't working for me anymore. I am pushed to the point of this skin has become so tight that I must break out of it. And it pushed me like nothing else could have to the point of realizing my fullest potential in the 10. You see, so it's like when we reflect upon those most uncomfortable moments in our lives, those times that we've just really felt that we couldn't go on any further, or that we recognize in which we were judging and criticizing of ourselves or undercutting our own worth, playing small, all of this energy between judgment and justice, that now, to the tune of our beat of our own drum, right? Whistling our own tune, we now feel more aligned with who we are becoming, who we surround ourselves with, and recognizing when something is out of tune, what is our process for, working to seeing if there's a way to work within that to shift it, or perhaps that's my indication that I have an opportunity to move on. And in love and gratitude for the experience, but again, an opportunity to look back over some of the most difficult, most challenging scenarios and finding the blessings, finding the gifts in all of it. And here, there's gifts all around, even under the naughty, even under the coal, we find gifts that are lying there that just are waiting to be uncovered by seeing them in a new light with a new tune. So, again, something for everyone in there in terms of a blessing. Yes, from a most basic place when we're talking about just this week and how this could be showing up, certainly gathering with loved ones in a celebratory manner for the season, coming together, and then that sense of carols, singing, blessings and good times. So once again, I send out love, joy, peace, warmth, and light to all, wherever you are and however you're experiencing this season, sending that light and love to you. Let's take a look now at Thursday for how we are growing. All right. Thursday is bringing in the 4 of Cups for how we are growing. And so, this is traditionally the card of boredom, apathy. We can see that body language is very closed, very dazed, not really all that enthused, and certainly seems quite unaware of this very interesting blessing that's coming in from this hand of God, as they call it, as if from nowhere, but it is right there, just outside of their view. So now the winter Waite says, the 4 of Cups, someone who feels bored, unmotivated, or left out. When this card comes up in a holiday reading, it could indicate that you are feeling a bit discouraged or isolated during the festive season. This is especially so for people who suffer from loneliness during the holidays. They may feel a bit out of the loop or excluded from Christmas celebrations. The cup offered to the person suggests hope. If only the person could see that maybe a friendship or help is being offered. Encourage one to look for that cup. So if that is something that speaks to you or someone in your orbit, an awareness of someone who is struggling. One of the things I am very hyper aware of is that, I have entered into a season here now in this block of time through the new year where in my area around me, numerous people suffered losses. About 6 people passed away between November and January in my life, last year. And I'm very aware that for many, it's been the 1 year anniversary of all the things, whether it was an unexpected accident and the stages that, that situation unfolded, and knowing that this last Christmas was perhaps the last Christmas they spent with their loved one, or this is marking the first Christmas that their loved one is not here, and just having that awareness in mind. And I just want to bring in here the Bluebell Bridge for loss and grief as well. I'm feeling a lot of emotion around this, just because even though they seem a little bit just sort of dazed in a sense of just sort of flat, which is certainly also, traditionally an aspect, the added layer here from the winter Waite speaking to, people particularly who could feel out of the loop or excluded from Christmas celebrations, holiday celebrations, and really feeling the sense of bringing forward hope and light, and encouraging one to look for the gifts, to cherish the memories, to extract from whatever is coming forward that perhaps has ended, that, if there's a bittersweetness there, that we are able to really look upon the blessings of the past celebrations and holiday past and bring that forward into our present, and really allow ourselves to access the abundance of blessings that could be available to us right there in that moment, but also to just be with whatever is coming forward. So again, if that's someone's experience or someone around you, there's an opportunity for us to have a heightened awareness that we can send love and light and hold space in whatever way speaks to you. This can be something that's done with or without words, with or without overt gestures, but just opportunities for us to observe, things outside of ourselves and our immediate experiences that could be a part of this season as well, and certainly just specifically in this week. Now, this is where I was talking about some of the astrological weather this week, that we are navigating, and in the way that could be showing up in terms of Venus and Uranus and the potential for some tension there. So again, just going back to that astrological energetic weather we talked about in the beginning, being gentle, taking it easy with ourselves if we are feeling some of that, but also just from a very, very specifically, traditional interpretation of this card, you really could just feel a little bit uninspired, maybe a little overload from all the holiday or all of the activity, or just exhausted, from just having a busy year, moving through a lot, however it's showing up for you. Perhaps an opportunity for a timeout, a breather, but I would say to get out in nature if possible, and to make it a point that in whatever you're doing, that you need to identify 4 gifts in a moment. That when we're having a moment and we have a thought that may be lower vibrational, and rightfully so, we could be having a good old pout and we deserve it, for whatever reason is coming up for us, that we also make a deal with ourselves that in addition to whatever lower vibrational thought or, energy that we're moving through, we take a moment to gather. The squirrels are giving me a little, gathering, coming together of 4 blessings, 4 gifts, whether they're hidden, whether they're easily identified. Let me take a moment to find 4 things that I'm grateful for in this moment before I let myself resume my pout. All right, let's take a look now at Friday to wrap up the week. All right, finally Friday, another beautiful card of the tarot, the 9 of Pentacles, which is really truly a very abundant card of manifestation. When we see her there in her garden, surrounded by all of her many blessings, and I always give the little, sewing needle pincushion tomato shout out to the pentacles in this deck that looks like one of those pincushion tomatoes from back in the day. There she is in her holly. We've come full circle. You may recall that at the beginning we talked about our tarot ally this week and the energy of holly and the different traditional and in some cases, mythical, legendary, we'll say legends about the purpose of holly and how it serves to bring peace, to resolve conflict, to bring light and color into the drab winter season, etc. We see her surrounded by that energy here in her red robe, which is bringing us into that root chakra, the base of safety, security, abundance. And she's in her garden, and this represents a self-made person, in many cases a woman, a feminine energy, and she does have a bird of prey on her hand, even with a falconer's glove, if you see that she's wearing. So there is this sense of taming the beast. So she's worked hard. Nines are about resilience and perseverance and, kind of coming into nearing completion, sort of on fumes even sometimes. If you remember, we had 9 of Wands show up on our altar space. I believe it was just last week. It feels like forever ago. But 9 of Wands. And of course, we've been talking about the 9 energy of the Hermit coming in for 2025 as a 9 year, and then all the frequency of 9 that we're going to be diving into in just a week or so. But also when we're almost to the finish line, there is a sense of like a lot of hard work has been put forward. And this deck speaks of the 9 of Pentacles saying an independent person enjoying their wealth. This card could represent a boss or a merchant, perhaps even someone who's alone during the season and is too proud to let people know about it. This reminds me of a person who has everything, or so people think. So again, you hear that there's another reference of being aware of the people around us who may be alone, who may not be feeling in the spirit. And whether that is you or someone what opportunity do we have to spread light and joy? Or within ourself, within our own gardens, to see that from everything that may be absent and missing, the abundance of blessings that we do have, or the amount of hard work and struggle that has gone to get you there, to create this all on your own. And another thing that's coming to mind for me is, and again, not for everybody, but from a perspective of, making a beautiful holiday experience for our loved ones, whether it be children or others, or if we're giving in some charitable way, but making ends meet, making things, again, like I said, this is a specific message for some in terms of the amount of work and potential sacrifice and savings and strategizing that can go into pulling off holiday miracles, especially for children, to bring magic into their lives and to feel the pressure of, the more commercialized way that holidays are done these days, and all of those things, so there's this moment to really find a beautiful balance in all of that, which at the center of it is you really being proud of yourself for everything that you have accomplished and all of your hard work, whether it be throughout this year, throughout your life, throughout this month, throughout this season, however it's showing up for you. There's just a sense of like, you made all of this for yourself. You brought all of this forward. You made this possible, and to celebrate that and to really recognize the amount of progress that you've made. And yet there's, we're on the cusp of don't give up, perseverance, resilience, continue on, because this beautiful garden that you've already planted and nurtured and brought into bloom is still blooming. So there's so much more yet to come. There's many more pentacles where that came from. So it does feel like a beautiful punctuation mark on our week in terms of really assessing, especially over 2024, the whole of the year, the version of you that stepped into this year in January, the version of you that is just poised to step out of it. And even if we do feel like we're on fumes, if we feel like we haven't quite mastered that bird of prey, wherever you are in it, just recognize that there are so many things for you to be proud of and how far you have come. And so again, if you need to find 4 blessings, find 9, really push yourself to shift the narrative that really puts the focus on what's right. What's gone right? What do you have to look forward to in terms of what's coming in, what's possible? The more energy that you put into the life that you wish to live, that you want to experience, the more you will create that in your environment. The more that we expect that things will have to be difficult, the more we say, oh no, the death card came up for Tuesday, so what's going to happen? What am I losing? We're feeding that. And that can be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So there's this energy of stepping into the vibration of where we wish to be, to actually see yourself standing in that garden, having tamed that bird of prey, whether or not that is a reality for you in this moment or not. So an opportunity too for some positive visualization. Another thing, and I'll actually put this, I'll put a link here. 𝓘𝓷𝓽𝓮 she is a well-known deck creator, and she does all kinds of courses and books that she's written, and a lot of the decks that we use here and enjoy are from 𝓘𝓷𝓽𝓮, and she does every year a free vision board class, a series of virtual meetings that if you can't attend live, you can get the replay. And she walks you through creating a vision board for yourself for the new year. And it's completely free. So I'm going to share the link here, whether you're watching this on the Sharecast, I'll put it here in a note. If you are looking on YouTube, I will have it in the description below this video. And that's just where you can sign up for free and go along and follow the emails and the videos that they'll send you in the new year and create your own vision board. An opportunity for you to really spend more and more time in this garden of realization, this garden of fruition and abundance, even if that's not yet your reality. The more time you spend there. So I feel that that's coming in too as an opportunity for people to tap into those resources available as well. And you can find many more. This time of year, there's a great opportunity to follow along with some of these free resources that can really help you to step into the new year feeling, having a clear vision and clarity around, what we're leaving behind, what we're taking with us, and the new that we are inviting into our lives. So I hope that has all been resonating for you. I still have some bits to share here as I wind down, but I just want to thank you so much for being here for another week. And as I say, we still have a little time left to go for 2024. And then I will be rolling out the January Empowerment Sharecast, and now available if you already know that you want to come along for January for the Empowerment Pack. That is all ready to go on my booking link as well that I'll be sharing here. So if you do know that you want to come along and kick off the new year empowered with some guidance, insight, and wisdom into your first month of a new year, I would love to have you come along. The 1 month or the 3-month bundle is available. So you can do that first quarter of 2025 empowered. January, February, March. We'll be rolling through each month with a month ahead reading, personal card pulls for you for the beginning, middle, and end of the month, as well as the new moon and full moon in each of those months as well. So I have a beautiful deck I'll be bringing out for January. I cannot wait to dive into. It's called the Winter Tarot by one of my favorite tarot artists, Astral Mermaid, Danielle Norman. So I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't worked with it yet, but it's really beautiful. We'll be seeing it on the January Empowerment Sharecast and really up close and personal for the January Empowerment Pack. So if you're interested in any of those things, also last minute gift alert, gift certificates are available. I have digital gift certificates I email to you that you can print or send digitally. They make beautiful gifts and opportunities for you as well to gift yourself a session in the new year. Also still taking reservations for the 2025 year ahead spread, my biggest reading of the year. The astrological guidance and some other aspects that I was waiting on are now available, and I'm getting ready to prepare the part 1 video for the year ahead reading. So if you're already queued for that, keep your eyes peeled for that first week of January where you'll receive that first video. And then part 2 throughout the month of January, I'll be pulling your personal 20 additional tarot cards and oracle cards for this year ahead. So thank you guys so much for being here. I am once again sending you so much love and many, many blessings. I'll be right back with all of those resources. Much love.